हेलो। Hello, dear students. In the last class, I have given different types of heat exchangers. So there is the classification like parallel flow heat exchangers, counter flow heat exchangers, and cross flow heat exchangers. What is parallel flow? What is counter flow? What is cross flow? So how the temperature varies along the length of the heat exchanger, and that has been discussed while giving the introductory part of heat exchangers. So in parallel flow heat exchanger, both the hot fluid and cold fluid, both the fluids are flowing in the same direction. So hot fluid temperature decreases, at the same time cold fluid temperature increases. And in the case of counter fluid exchanger, just reverse. If the hot fluid is flowing in one direction, your cold fluid may flow in the opposite direction, and the temperature distribution temperature variation also has been given for the counterflow heat exchanger. And in addition to the parallel flow and counterflow, in the cross flow heat exchanger, so one fluid flows horizontally and maybe one direction, and to that some angle 90 degrees angle, the second fluid may pass the heat exchanger at some 90 degrees angle. So that kind of heat exchanger is known as cross flow heat exchanger. And in the analysis of heat exchanger, there are three important parameters to be considered, and they are very, very important parameters while designing any heat exchanger or analyzing the heat transfer in a heat exchanger. There are three important parameters, basic parameters. What are those I have given? U, overall heat transfer coefficient between the two fluids. U is the overall heat transfer coefficient between the two fluids. A is the effective heat transfer coefficient between the two fluids. And Hello? Power resumed, all of you? Join. All of you join. Hello? Okay, in the last class, we have discussed the parallel flow heat exchangers, counter flow heat exchangers, cross flow heat exchangers, and how the temperature varies along the length of the heat exchanger, and what is parallel flow heat exchanger, what is counter flow heat exchanger, what is cross flow heat exchanger has been given, and how overall heat transfer for any heat exchanger. How do we calculate Q is equal to UA theta mean, delta T mean, where U is the overall heat transfer coefficient between the two fluids, and A is the effective heat transfer area. Theta mean, log mean, it is known as log mean temperature difference. So LMTD, if you come across any heat exchanger, there is LMTD, log mean temperature difference. So because if you observe the temperature variation along the length of the heat exchanger, the temperature difference is not the same throughout the length of the heat exchanger. That's why you have to take the mean value. That mean in the case of heat exchanger, that mean value is known as log mean temperature difference. That is to taken in the heat exchanger problems or analysis or design. So what temperature difference to be taken here? Log mean temperature difference. So what is log mean temperature difference? LMTD, log mean temperature difference. Log mean temperature difference is defined as that temperature difference which would give the same rate of heat transfer as actually occurs under variable conditions of temperature difference. Here, if you observe the temperature difference, whether it is a parallel flow, counter flow, or cross flow, the temperature difference may change from one location to other location along the length of the heat exchanger. Your temperature difference is not same. It may not be uniform. That may change from one location to other location along the length of the heat exchanger. That's why you are not supposed to take temperature difference. How much temperature difference to taken, how to decide. So that's why you have to take a mean value. That mean value in the analysis of heat exchangers is known as log mean temperature difference. Log mean temperature difference. So in order to derive the expression for LMTD for various type of heat exchangers, that is parallel flow heat exchanger, counter flow heat exchanger, or cross flow heat exchanger, you have to follow some assumptions. The following are the assumptions while deriving the equation for log mean temperature difference. While deriving the equation for log mean temperature difference, you have to assume something. You have to assume some uh, parameters. So what are those assumptions? So these also important. You have to write all these assumptions while deriving the LMTD of parallel flow heat exchanger or counter flow heat exchanger or cross flow heat exchanger. So you have to follow some assumptions. Assumptions. The following assumptions are made while deriving the expression for LMTD for various type of heat exchanger. Various types of heat exchanger means first one parallel flow heat exchanger, second one counter flow heat exchanger, third one cross flow heat exchanger. Like that, in order to derive the LMTD for different types of heat exchangers, so you have to assume something. there are some assumptions. What are those assumptions? The overall heat transfer coefficient is constant. Overall heat transfer coefficient U is constant. You assume that the U is constant. And the flow conditions are steady. In steady state condition, all the flow conditions are in steady state condition. Flow is in steady state condition. That is, we take the temperature at a given time. For example, 100 degrees centigrade. After 1 hour, if you measure, the temperature is same at that given location. That is 100 degrees only. That's why, so if the property does not vary with the time, that is known as steady state condition. And here, specific heats and mass flow rates of both the fluids are constant. That is, specific heats and mass flow rates of hot fluid and cold fluid are constant. And there is no loss of heat to the surroundings due to heat exchanger being perfectly insulated. Due to the heat exchanger being perfectly insulated. So you have to insulate the heat exchanger. That's why there is no loss of heat from the heat exchanger to the surroundings. So if you insulate the heat exchanger, insulation with the help of insulating material, whatever the heat energy available in the heat exchanger, that will be there inside the heat exchanger only. The heat may not go outside. That is known as no loss of heat to the surroundings. And next assumption, there is no change of phase either of the fluids during heat transfer. For example, hot fluid will be in hot fluid condition only. Cold fluid in cold fluid condition only. And no change of phase means fluid, that is liquid, will not change to steam or vapor. Liquid condition will not become vapor condition, or vapor will not become liquid condition. That is no change of phase. Change of phase. And here you have to assume, next assumption, potential energy and kinetic energy are negligible in this heat exchanger process. And axial conduction along the tubes of heat exchanger is negligible. We are neglecting the conduction heat transfer along the axis, but we are considering perpendicular to the axis. So like that, we have to assume these 7 assumptions. After assume, you have to derive the equation for log mean temperature difference. So first we'll derive log mean temperature difference for parallel flow. Log mean temperature difference for parallel flow heat exchanger. So now we are deriving equation for log mean temperature difference for parallel flow heat exchanger. And I will give this one derivation, the log mean LMTD for parallel flow heat exchanger. Following the same lines and similar lines, you can derive the equation for that counter flow heat exchanger and parallel cross flow heat exchanger. All of you try those two derivations by taking the help of textbooks or any other help. So all of you do the derivation on your own for the remaining two heat exchangers. Now I'll give the derivation for LMTD for parallel flow heat exchanger now. So in the final exam is asking derive the equation for LMTD for a parallel flow heat exchanger, counter flow heat exchanger or cross flow heat exchanger. Okay na? So log mean temperature difference. So here consider heat exchanger. If having shell and inside there are tubes. In this tube hot fluid is flowing. In this pipe or tube hot fluid is flowing in the positive x direction. At the same time, this is the outside the tube, the shell. This is known as the annual surrounding pipe. That is known as shell. This is tube. Outside that pipe is known as, bigger pipe is known as shell. Smaller pipe is known as tube or pipe. Inside the pipe, hot fluid is flowing. In the annulus surrounding the pipe, annulus, this is the annulus surrounding the pipe, cold fluid is flowing. So hot fluid is flowing in the positive x direction. At the same time, Cold fluid also flowing in the positive x direction. The flow arrangement for this parallel flow heat exchanger will be like this. Hot fluid flowing in the positive x direction. At the same time, cold fluid also flowing in the same direction, that is positive x direction. Okay, na? That is up to the flow arrangement of this parallel flow heat exchanger, flow arrangement. Okay, na? For this arrangement, you have to derive the equation for log mean temperature difference for parallel flow heat exchanger. So this is required for calculation of heat transfer rate. Q is equal to UA into LMTD. U, overall heat transfer coefficient. A, surface area, or effective area. And LMTD, log mean into LMTD, log mean temperature difference. Okay, now for this, so draw the sketch of temperature variation. This is for hot fluid, this is temperature variation. This is the temperature variation for the cold fluid. So TH1, the temperature along y-axis. So we are taking the temperature on the y-axis. Now along the length of the heat exchanger, this is the horizontal. X-axis gives us the area of the heat exchanger or length of the heat exchanger. So temperature distribution. If you consider hot fluid, the temperature decreases from TH1 to TH2. Temperature for hot fluid, temperature decreases from TH1 to TH2. What is TH1? Temperature of the hot fluid at the inlet. What TH2? Temperature of the hot fluid at the outlet. And next, cold fluid temperature increases from, because heat transfer from hot fluid to cold fluid. Whenever there is heat transfer, so cold fluid temperature increases. So cold fluid temperature increases from TC1 to TC2. Cold fluid temperature increases from TC1 to TC2. What is TC1? Temperature of the cold fluid at the inlet. One is inlet, two is outlet. And TC2, what is TC2? Temperature of the cold fluid at the outlet. Now at the inlet, there are TH1 and TC1. Hot fluid temperature TH1, cold fluid temperature TC1. What is the temperature difference at the inlet? That is theta 1. This is theta 1. Theta 1 is the temperature difference at inlet. How do you calculate that on theta 1? TH1 minus TC1. Theta 1 is equal to TH1 minus TC1, where TH1 is the temperature of the hot fluid at the inlet. TC1 is the temperature of the cold fluid at the inlet. If you take the difference, that is temperature difference at the inlet of the heat exchanger. Theta 1 is the temperature difference at the inlet of the heat exchanger. Similarly, at the outlet, TH2, temperature of the hot fluid at the outlet. TC2, temperature of the cold fluid at the outlet. What is the temperature difference? Theta 2 is the temperature difference. This is theta 2 is the temperature difference at the outlet. How do you calculate that one? TH2 minus TC2. Theta 2 is equal to TH2 minus TC2. TC2. So that is the temperature difference at the outlet. Now here consider a small elemental area dA. In between, consider the small elemental area dA, and at this left side TH1, TH and TC. That is temperature of the hot fluid here, TH. Temperature of the cold fluid, this one. And at this, if you at the right hand side, the small temperature dTH, small temperature difference, small differential temperature difference for the hot fluid dTH, differential temperature difference for the hot fluid. Next, This one, DTC, differential temperature difference for the cold fluid, small difference here. TC to temperature increases from this point level to this level. The difference, that is differential temperature difference, DTC, for the cold fluid. This is the temperature difference for the hot fluid. And here, this is the DQ, differential heat transfer rate. DQ is the heat transfer, Q for heat transfer rate, differential heat transfer rate. That's about how the temperature varies with respect to hot fluid, with respect to cold fluid. And what is the temperature difference at the inlet? What is the temperature difference at the outlet? Okay, na? Now, after giving the complete specification of cold fluid, hot fluid, and temperature differences and areas, now we have to derive the equation for LMTD. You have to derive the equation for log mean temperature difference. For this, parallel flow heat exchanger, parallel flow, because hot fluid flowing in the positive x direction, at the same time cold fluid also flowing in the same direction, that is positive x direction. Are both fluids, that is hot fluid as well as cold fluid, both fluids are flowing in the same direction. That kind of arrangement is known as parallel flow heat exchanger. Now, let us consider the elemental area dA, the small elemental area dA of the heat exchanger. The rate of flow of heat through this elemental area, that is dq. This elemental area dq, rate of heat transfer rate, q for heat transfer rate, different small heat transfer rate dq, the rate of flow of heat transfer through this small area, small differential area or small area dA. That is dq is equal to, how do you calculate heat transfer rate? Overall heat transfer coefficient into area into temperature difference. Here temperature difference what is TH minus TC. That's why U is equal to dq is equal to U into overall heat transfer coefficient into dA. Here what is the area? Small area dA. dA into what is the temperature difference? TH minus TC. TH minus TC. That's equal to U into dA into delta T difference. Delta T difference. But this TH minus TC, here there is a big one. Here the temperature difference is decreasing. Temperature difference is further decreasing, further decreasing. That's why not uniform. That's why for that purpose only you have to calculate the average value of this temperature difference. That's why this average value in terms with respect to heat exchangers is termed as or notated as log mean temperature difference. Log mean temperature difference. For that, we have to derive the LMTD for the parallel flow heat exchanger. As a result of this heat transfer dq, this is q only, q only, not theta. As a result of this heat transfer dq through the area, this small area dA, as a result of heat transfer dq through the small area dA, the hot fluid is cooled by dTH. The hot fluid temperature decreases a small value of dTH, cooled by dTH, whereas cold fluid is increases by dTC, whereas the cold fluid is heated up. Our temperature of the cold fluid increases. Our cold fluid is heated up. Hot fluid is cooled by dTH, whereas at the same time, cold fluid is heated up by dTC. dTC. Okay, na? The energy balance over differential area dA. If you take the energy balance over differential area dA, so heat given by the hot fluid and that heat is being taken by the cold fluid. That's why heat is given by the hot fluid. That's why temperature decreases for the hot fluid. At the same time, heat is taken by the or picked up by the cold fluid or gained by the heat gained by the cold fluid. That's why temperature increases. Cold fluid temperature increases. That's why if you draw the energy balance over a differential area dA, that is heat given by the hot fluid is equal to heat taken by the cold fluid. That is the heat balance. That is dq. Heat given by the hot fluid. How do we calculate? How do we calculate heat given by the hot fluid? mc delta T, mass into specific heat into temperature difference. Temperature difference. So that is minus heat given by the hot fluid m dot h into Cph dTh. M dot h. What is m dot h? Mass flow rate of hot fluid. M dot h. Mass flow rate of hot fluid. What is Cph? Specific heat at constant pressure of the hot fluid. dTh, that is temperature difference. Temperature difference for this small elemental area dA. That is heat given by the hot fluid. That is heat. It is losing a heat. That's why minus. Heat taken from a system is minus. That's why minus. That is equal to heat added to the cold water. That's why that is plus only. That's why minus m dot h into Cph and dTh is equal to m dot c into Cpc into dTc. M dot c. What is m dot c? Mass flow rate of the cold fluid. Cpc. What is specific heat at constant pressure of the cold fluid. dTh, temperature difference. This one. dTc. Sorry. dTc. Temperature difference of the cold fluid. dTc. Temperature difference of the cold fluid. That is energy balance or heat balance. That is heat given by the hot fluid, at the same time heat taken over from the hot fluid by the cold fluid. That's why heat picked up by the cold fluid. Where it is getting, the cold fluid is getting the heat from the hot fluid. That's why energy balance over differential area. Over differential area means this area. That is heat supplied by the hot fluid is equal to heat picked up by the cold fluid. That is energy balance. That's why dq, small area, this one, small heat transfer rate, differential heat transfer rate dq is equal to, that is minus m dot h into Cph into dTh. That is equal to m dot c into Cpc into dTc. So that is equal to, anyhow, you have calculated like this, dq, u into dA into Th minus Tc. So from this relation, now you can calculate dTh. How do you get the dTh from this relation? dq, this is minus dq by m dot h into Cph. From this relation, dq is equal to minus m dot h into Cph into dTh. From this relation, how do you get the dTh? dTh is equal to minus dq divided by m dot h into Cph. That is equal to minus dq by, now we can replace this mass into specific heat, m dot mass, Cp specific heat. You can replace this product of mass and specific heat with a capital C capacity, heat capacity. Capital C is the heat capacity of the hot fluid, H for small h for hot fluid. CH, capital CH. That is what, how do you calculate? That is m dot h into Cph. Mass of the hot fluid into specific heat of the hot fluid at constant pressure. Cph, specific heat of the hot fluid at constant pressure. The product of mass into specific heat is known as heat capacity, capital C. Capital C. Capital C is equal to m into Cp. That is, capital C is the heat capacity of the hot fluid. Ch, heat capacity of the hot fluid. All of you listen very carefully. Very, very important. Small temperature difference of the hot fluid is equal to minus dq by Ch, capital Ch. Okay, na? Where capital C is the heat capacity of the hot, H for hot fluid, heat capacity of the hot fluid. And similarly, from this relation, dq is equal to m dot c into Cpc into dTc. From that, dTc is equal to dq by m dot c into Cpc. dTc is equal to dq by m dot c into Cpc. That is equal to dq by capital C. Capital C, heat capacity of the cold fluid. Where Ch, this one, capital Ch is equal to m dot h into Cph. M dot h into Cph. That is the heat
Sri Shirdi Sai Jyotishalaya అన్నిటినీ ప్రదోషితులు గత 16 సంవత్సరంగా విశాఖ ప్రజల మన్ననలు పొందుతూ స్థిరంగా ఉన్నారు.
Hello, sorry for the interruption. Sorry for the disturbance. The power failure. Now, I'll continue now. DTH minus dq by capital CH. DTC is equal to dq by capital CC, where CH, capital CH is the heat capacity of the hot fluid. That is also known as water equivalent of the hot fluid. Capital CH, capital C for heat capacity of the hot fluid. H for hot fluid. Similarly, capital C, capital C, this is the heat capacity of the cold fluid. So now DTH is equal to minus dq by CH. DTC is equal to dq by CC. So now take the difference of these two. Therefore, DTH minus DTC is equal to minus dq into 1 by CH plus 1 by CC. If you take the difference of these two, DTH minus DTC from this, then you'll get DTH minus DTC is equal to minus dq into 1 by capital CH plus 1 by capital CC. From this, but what is DTH minus DTC? That is TH minus TC, that you can take a theta. Temperature difference of the temperature of the hot fluid and cold fluid, that is theta. Therefore, d theta is equal to minus dq. Q is the heat transfer rate, theta is the temperature difference. D theta is equal to minus dq into 1 by CH, the capital CH, plus 1 by CC, capital C, where CH is the heat capacity of the hot fluid, C is the heat capacity of the cold fluid. So therefore, d theta is equal to, but what is dq from this? U dA TH minus TC. That's why d theta is equal to minus dq value U into dA into TH minus TC. Here from this relation, dq is equal to U dA into TH minus TC. That's why d theta is equal to minus U into dA into TH minus TC into 1 by capital CH plus 1 by capital C. That is equal to minus U into dA, but TH minus TC theta here. TH minus TC is equal to theta. That's why minus U into dA into this TH minus TC is equal to theta into theta is the temperature difference of both the fluids, hot fluid and cold fluid, into 1 by capital CH plus 1 by capital C. Okay na? So from this relation, d theta by theta, this theta, d theta by theta is equal to minus U into dA into 1 by capital CH plus 1 by capital C. So here theta, two variables, theta and area. Variation of temperature along the area of the heat exchanger. The two variables. One is theta, other variable area, or length of the heat exchanger. Sometimes you can take the area of the heat exchanger. That's why here you have to integrate to get the solution for this. For the solution for the theta, temperature difference, log mean temperature difference, you have to integrate between the inlet and outlet conditions. That is from here area is equal to 0 here area is equal to A. So integrating between inlet and outlet conditions. That is from A is equal to 0 to A is equal to A. We get integral 1 to 2, two locations, inlet location 1, outlet location 2. Integral 1 to 2, d theta by theta is equal to minus, it is anyhow a constant, u into, okay, minus 1 by ch plus 1 by cc into integral a0 to integral area a u dA. Okay na? So what is 1 by theta d theta integration? Log theta. 1 by theta d theta integral of 1 by theta d theta integration log theta. That's why natural log ln theta. If you substitute the limits, then ln theta 2 minus ln theta 1. That you can write ln theta 2 by theta 1 is equal to minus 1 by ch plus 1 by cc integral of u dA. U constant, take out constant, a given value of ua, overall it transfer coefficient u. But integral of dA, that is area A. From 0 to A, that's why only area A. That's why minus, if you integrate this one, A will be coming. That's why minus UA into 1 by capital CH plus 1 by capital CC. Where C is the heat capacity of the, CH is the heat capacity of the hot fluid. CC is the heat capacity of the cold fluid. Now the total heat transfer rate between the two fluids is given by, that is, for example, if you take the hot fluid and cold fluid, heat transfer rate, total heat transfer, Q is equal to, so M into K specific heat, that is heat capacity, capital CH into TH1 minus TH2. If you take only hot fluid, the temperature difference is TH1 minus TH2. So heat, overall heat given by the hot fluid, Q is equal to, that is capital CH into TH1 minus TH2. That is equal to energy balance. Heat given by the hot fluid, that is heat taken by the cold fluid. That's why heat balance, that is equal to capital CC, that is heat capacity of the cold fluid into TC2 minus TC1. Here TC2 is greater than TC1. That's why temperature of cold fluid at the outlet minus temperature of cold fluid at the inlet. So from this, therefore, from this relation, 1 by CH, capital CH is equal to TH1 minus TH2 divided by Q. From this relation, Q is equal to capital CH into TH1 minus TH2. From this relation, 1 by CH is equal to TH1 minus TH2 divided by Q. Similarly, Q is equal to capital CC into TC2 minus TC1. From this relation, 1 by capital CC, heat capacity of the cold fluid, that is equal to TC2 minus TC1 divided by capital Q, heat transfer, total heat transfer rate Q. Substituting the values of 1 by CH and 1 by CC into the equation number 1. You name this as equation number 1. Here 1 by CH is there, 1 by CC is there. Now we got the 1 by CH value, that is TH1 minus TH2 divided by capital Q. And 1 by CC value, TC2 minus TC1 by capital Q. Substitute these two values in this equation number 1. Therefore, ln theta 2 by theta 1 is equal to minus UA into, what is 1 by CH value? TH1 minus TH2 divided by Q. That's why minus UA into TH1 minus TH2 divided by Q plus then 1 by CC value TC2 minus TC1 by Q. That's why TC2 minus TC1 by Q. From this, you can simplify this one. UA by Q. Q is common here. Q is common. Heat transfer rate Q. UA by Q is equal to, you minus take inside, minus into minus plus. That's why TH2 minus, this is minus TC2. Minus plus minus, minus into plus minus, minus TC2. That's why UA by Q into TH2 minus TC2 minus of TH1 minus, this is minus TH1, minus into TH1, that's minus TH1, minus of TH1 minus, minus into minus plus, that's why minus of TH1 minus TC1, and minus into minus plus, here also minus into minus, That's why here minus into minus. Finally, UA by Q into what is TH2 minus TC2 here. Here. TH2 minus TC2. What is TH2 minus TC2? Theta 2. And TH1 minus TC1, theta 1. That's why substitute those values here. Here. That's why UA by Q into TH2 minus TC2, theta 2 minus TH1 minus TC1, theta 1. That's why finally log natural theta 2 by theta 1 is equal to UA by Q, overall heat transfer coefficient Q into, Q is the heat transfer rate, total heat transfer rate Q. U is the overall heat transfer coefficient, A is the area, Q is the total heat transfer rate Q into TH2 minus TC2, theta 2 minus this one, theta 1. That's finally Ln theta 2 by theta 1 is equal to UA by Q into theta 2 minus theta 1. Therefore, from this, so Q, from this Q, this is Q only, sorry, just like theta is observing, but if this is Q, it translated Q like this. Q, therefore Q is equal to UA, theta 2 minus theta 1, this Q. Q is equal to, therefore Q is equal to Q, you take this left hand side, Q is equal to UA, theta 2 minus theta 1 divided by Ln theta 2 by theta 1. Heat transfer rate Q, therefore heat transfer rate Q is equal to UA into theta 2 minus theta 1 by Ln theta 2 by theta 1. Here, Ln theta 2 by theta 1, you take right hand side, then that becomes 1 by Ln theta 2 by theta 1. Finally, heat transfer rate, this Q only, heat transfer rate Q is equal to UA theta 2 minus theta 1 divided by Ln theta 2 by theta 1. Implies Q is equal to, implies final overall total heat transfer rate Q is equal to UA into theta mean, that is LMTD. Theta mean, LMTD, where theta mean is equal to theta 2 minus theta 1 divided by Ln theta 2 by theta 1. Ln means natural logarithm. Finally, temperature difference, LMTD, theta mean, that is LMTD is equal to theta 2 minus theta 1 by Ln theta 2 by theta 1. That is equal to, you can replace like this. This can be rewritten like this. Theta 1 minus theta 2 divided by Ln theta 1 by theta 2. Finally, log mean temperature difference for parallel flow heat exchanger. That is theta 1 minus theta 2 divided by Ln theta 1 by theta 2. Similarly, for counterflow also, log mean temperature difference. For counterflow also, theta 1 minus theta 2 divided by Ln theta 1 by theta 2. All of you derive for counterflow heat exchanger also, LMTD. And if you observe LMTD of counterflow and LMTD of parallel flow, the LMTD for a counterflow unit is always greater than that of parallel flow unit. LMTD of counterflow heat exchanger is greater than that of parallel flow heat exchanger. Very, very important. Hence, counterflow heat exchanger can transfer more heat than parallel flow heat exchanger. In other words, a counterflow heat exchanger needs a smaller heating surface area. That's why everybody is using counterflow heat exchanger nowadays. It requires smaller heating surface area. That's why you can use less space and also compact heat exchanger with counterflow heat exchangers. For the same rate of heat transfer, counterflow heat exchanger is better than the parallel flow heat exchanger. For this reason, the counterflow arrangement is usually used. That's why nowadays everybody using counterflow heat exchanger, because so smaller surface areas are required. Then you can, construction cost decreases or cost of manufacturing decreases. At the same time, a more heat transfer rate. Okay, na? Like that, we can derive equation for LMTD, log mean temperature difference for parallel flow heat exchanger. Similarly, can derive the equation for LMTD of counterflow heat exchanger also. All of you do that one at home. Follow the same procedure. Only difference is the direction changes, that's all. Okay, na? So that's all for today. Any doubt? All of you try at home the derivation for LMTD of counterflow heat exchanger. You may get either of these two derivations in the final exam, either parallel flow heat exchanger or counterflow heat exchanger. The argument temperature difference of parallel flow heat exchanger or counterflow heat exchanger. You may get any one of these two derivations. Okay, that's all for today. Any doubt? So I'm closing.
Okay, good morning, my dear students. So today we will discuss about robot programming. So in this topic, particularly in this topic, so we will discuss about what are the say instruction commands, monetary instruction commands, move commands, and different kinds of languages are available to write the robot programming, so etc. Okay. So before I start this robot programming, let me tell you. So far we have discussed so many topics in this industrial robotics, which are known as, so in introduction class we discussed about the configuration of the industrial robot, and so later we developed the subject by learning kinematics of industrial robot, say forward kinematics and inverse kinematics. And before that, forward and inverse kinematics, you learned about fundamentals of frame transformations. That is more important in this industrial robotics subject. And after that, kinematics, we discussed about the dynamics of industrial robots. And then after the Jacobian matrix, we discussed about Jacobian matrix. And so recently, the last week, we have discussed in few classes about trajectory planning, how to so derive the trajectory to the robo motions. Okay. So after that, the next important topic is robot programming. So, okay, up to that trajectory planning, you design, you learned about the design of industrial robot physically and analytically. by using the different concepts, kinematics and dynamics concepts and trajectory planning. You learned about, I think, in the previous classes, you learned about the control systems. What are the different types of control systems? What are the controllers? How control system, how it is working. So in the previous classes you learned. Okay. So based on the previous lectures, you can compatibly design the industrial robot. So after designing the robot, it is the time to play with the robot. It is the time to play with that designed robot. Okay. So how do you play with the designed robot? Okay. You by giving textual programming or textual instructions to the industrial robot. So by through that instructions, you can play with the robot according to your thoughts. So based on your thoughts, you can play with the robot. Okay. So let me go to the actual topic of the robot programming. Okay. So robot programming is the defining of desired motions so that the robot may perform them without human intervention. So that is the main task to write the programming in industrial robots. Okay, so in which mainly before you write the programming, so you have to identify and specify the robot configurations. So that is known as the position of the end effector with respect to the base plane. So this is very essential. You learn this position of end effector with respect to the base plane in kinematic relations. Okay. So this is more important statement in this before writing the program. Okay. So there are methods. There are different methods to write the program, which are so manually you can write the program, or by walkthrough method you can write the program. By read through method you can write the program, and finally most sophisticated method is offline programming. Okay, sophisticated and advanced programming is offline programming. Okay. So next type of programming. Those four are in the previous slide. Those four methods are programming methods. So here the type of programming robot programs. Okay. So when we discuss the type of robot programming, so there are different levels of programming. So which are known as joint level programming, robot level programming, high level programming. Okay. So what is joint level programming? So in this programming, concentrate on the joint position and joint movements. Okay. So in this joint level programming, so the basic actions are positions of the individual joints of the robot. Okay. So for example, the joint is a rotational joint. You concentrate about on joint angles. If it is prismatic joint, you have to concentrate on linear positions. Based on linear positions, you have to write the program. And the next level, robo level program. So in this level of programming, you have to concentrate on the position and orientation of the end effector with respect to the frame. Okay, so that is perhaps it is in trajectory planning. Okay, trajectories. Based on trajectories, we have to write the programming in program. Okay, and the next level of programming, the high level programming. So in this programming, so we have to consider object and task, object level programming and task level programming. Okay, so in object level programming, your aim is to how to pick the object from one place and move it to another place and where you drop that object. So that is the actions. Those are the actions you have to write as a program in object-level program. Okay. So, so these are the some few. These are the. Okay, so these are the. So few actions of Roto. You have to do the instructions to the row. So pick up part A. So for example, let us consider part A and part B, which are 2 bytes. Okay. So which are 2 byte objects. Okay. So 2 byte objects are having 6 faces. Okay. So 2 byte objects are having 6 faces. You know. Okay. So first let us take a first comment. So pick up part A. So by side A1 and side A3, face A1 and face A3. Using face A1 and face A3, you try to Robo has tried to pick the object. Okay. So to that statement, you have to write the instructions of the program. Okay. So the second, move part A to location 2, from location 1 to location 2, and then pick up second part B by side B1 and B3. Okay, and move it to location 2, and where you put the part B on top of the part A. Okay, so with side A5 in plane with the side B6. Okay, yeah, part A side A5 and part B side B6 are in after placing part B on part A. So these 2 planes are in plane. Okay, and with side A1 in plane with side B1. Okay, with side A2 in plane with the side B2. So these are the planes which are parallel after placing the object B over the part. Okay. So this is the way you write the object level programming. Okay. So next, task level programming. So what is task level programming? So in this, the basic actions are specified by the program, which are the task whether it's complete or not. So what are the other subtasks involved in the action of the program? So for example, if you consider while painting the car body, so paint the car body red color. Okay, so this is the task. So to this task, you have to, in this level of programming, you have to write the program, task level program. Okay. The second example, assemble the gearbox. Okay, for assembling the gearbox for this particular task, how to write the task level program. Okay. Once again, let us look at the types of programming. Okay, so there are broadly 3 kinds of 3 levels of programming, which are known as joint level programming. Okay, in which the basic actions are the basic actions which are considered are positions of the individual joints. Okay, and robo level programming. So in this, the basic action you need to consider position and orientation of the end effector. And third one is high level programming. So high level programming, it is categorized, it is subcategorized as object level programming and task level programming. So you know, object level programming in this concentrated on the object, how to place the object. It is the actions, which are the actions you need to write the program. So task level program. Okay. So next, robot programming. So typically there are two methods. Methods are types. Okay, which are performed in the following mode, either online or offline. So what are the online programming and manual programming, lead through programming? Okay, lead through programming and teach pendant programming are all the online programming. Okay, so offline programming is only robo level programming languages. Okay, task level programming languages. Those are called offline programming. Okay, so the above types of programming are again categorized into two, online and offline. Okay. Okay, so online programming, it is done by teach pendant or lead through programming. So what is this teach pendant? I will discuss in the next slide. And the lead through program, what is lead through? Okay, offline, it is offline robot programming languages or task level programming. So offline programming in the sense, so without teaching the physical structure of the industry robot, we give the program. We can write the program in our laptops and desktop PCs. Okay. So online, with the intervention of industry robot, we need to write the program. So that is the kind of online program. So I will tell you in the next. Okay, so robot programming methods, offline. So offline program, so write a program using a text-based robot programming language. Text-based robot programming language. So it does not need access to the robot. It does not need access to the robot until its final testing and implementation. Okay, and until its final testing and implementation. Okay, ఇక్కడ ఆఫ్లైన్ ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ అంటే మనం రోబో ఇండస్ట్రీ రోబోకి డైరెక్ట్ గా కనెక్ట్ చేసి మనం ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ రాయని అవసరం. సో సెపరేట్ గా ఒక ల్యాప్టాప్ లో మనం పర్టికులర్ ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్ ఉంటే, సో దాన్ని టెక్స్చువల్ ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ లాంగ్వేజ్ లో మనం రాసుకుని, and before implementing that program to the actual robot, we can test that program whether it is working or not properly. Another check chesukuna tarvata you can upload it to industry program. Okay, so that is the kind of offline programming. So next, online program. Online programming is it uses the robo structure to generate the program. So that is either by using teaching or guiding the robot to a sequence of motions that can lead be executed repeatedly. Okay, so that is online. అంటే ఇక్కడ టీచ్ పెండెంట్ అనేది ఒక డివైస్ అండి. ఆ డివైస్ మీకు ఆల్రెడీ మీకు ఫస్ట్ డెమో క్లాస్లో చూపించాను. ఆ డివైస్ ద్వారా మనం ఆ టీచ్ పెండెంట్ ద్వారా రోబోకి ఇన్స్ట్రక్షన్స్ చేయొచ్చు ఆన్లైన్లో. అంటే దానికి కనెక్ట్ చేసి డైరెక్ట్గా ఇన్స్ట్రక్ట్ చేసేదాన్ని ఆన్లైన్ అంటాం. సో ఆ విధంగా ఇవ్వచ్చు. అలాగే లీడ్ త్రూ అంటే మనం ఆ ఎండ్ ఎఫెక్టర్ని హోల్డ్ చేసి మన హ్యాండ్స్తో హోల్డ్ చేసి మనకి ఆ రోబో ఏ పాత్లో మూవ్ అవ్వాలి అన్న దాన్ని ఆ పాత్లో దాన్ని మనం మన హ్యాండ్స్తో దాన్ని గైడ్ చేస్తే అది ఆ పాత్ని రీడ్ చేసుకుంటుంది. ఆ కంట్రోలర్ సిస్టమ్ అన్నది రోబో కంట్రోల్ సిస్టమ్ ఆ పాత్ని రీడ్ చేసుకుంటుంది. సో దట్ ఈస్ నోన్ యాజ్ ఆన్లైన్ ప్రోగ్రామ్, లీడ్ త్రూ ఆన్లైన్ ప్రోగ్రామ్. అండ్ కంబైనింగ్ ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ అంటే, సో దిస్ కంబైనింగ్ ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ ఈజ్ మోస్ట్ ఆఫెన్ యూజ్డ్ ఇన్ ఇండస్ట్రీలో. ఎందుకంటే మనం ఏదైనా ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ చేసినప్పుడు ఇట్ కన్సిస్ట్ దట్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ కన్సిస్ట్ ఆన్లైన్ అండ్ ఆఫ్లైన్ ఇన్స్ట్రక్షన్స్ అన్నమాట. సో ఆన్లైన్ ఎలా ఇస్తామంటే ఆన్లైన్ టు to teach locations in space. మనం స్పేస్ లో లొకేషన్స్ ఇచ్చేటప్పుడు మనం ఆన్లైన్ ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ యూజ్ చేస్తాం. ఓకే, స్పేస్ లో స్పెసిఫిక్ పాయింట్స్ ని మనం స్పెసిఫిక్ పాయింట్స్ మనం రోబోకి ఇన్స్ట్రక్ట్ చేయాలంటే దట్ ఈస్ డన్ బై ఆన్లైన్. సో ఆఫ్లైన్ ఏం చేస్తారు మెయిన్లీ, సో టాస్క్ బేస్డ్ అన్నమాట. సో టాస్క్ ఆర్ సీక్వెన్స్ ఆఫ్ ఆపరేషన్స్. సీక్వెన్స్ ఆపరేషన్స్ ని ఈ ఆఫ్లైన్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ లో యూ కెన్ డిఫైన్ ఇట్ ఈజీ. ఓకే, so next, what are the uses of teach pendant? So how to use teach pendant? Okay, so teach pendant is a handheld device. It consists of switches, okay, which are used to control the robot motions. Okay, if the handheld device and దానికి సెట్ ఆఫ్ స్విచెస్ ఉంటాయి. ఆ స్విచెస్ యూజ్ చేసుకుని కెన్ కంట్రోల్ ద రోబో మోషన్స్. నెక్స్ట్, ఎండ్ పాయింట్స్ ఆర్ రికార్డెడ్ ఇన్ కంట్రోల్ ప్లేన్. ఇక్కడ రోబో ఎండ్ పాయింట్స్ ఒక పాయింట్ తీసుకెళ్ళి అక్కడ ఆ పాయింట్ రికార్డ్ చేస్తూ కంట్రోల్ మెమరీ ద్వారా ఆ పాయింట్ ని రికార్డ్ చేసుకుంటాను టీచ్ పెండెంట్. ఓకే, నెక్స్ట్, సో సీక్వెన్షియల్లీ ప్లేడ్ బ్యాక్ టు ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ రోబో యాక్షన్స్. అలా సెట్ ఆఫ్ పాయింట్స్ ని మనం రికార్డ్ చేసిన తర్వాత ఆ పాయింట్స్ ని ఒక సీక్వెన్షియల్ ఆర్డర్ లో అది రోబో ప్లే చేసుకుంటుంది, ప్లే బ్యాక్ గా. నెక్స్ట్, ట్రాజెక్టరీ. సో ట్రాజెక్టరీ ఇస్ డిటర్మైన్డ్ బై రోబోట్ కంట్రోల్. సో ఇక్కడ టీచ్ పెండెంట్ ద్వారా మనం పాయింట్స్ రికార్డ్ చేసిన తర్వాత సో యాక్చువల్ ట్రాజెక్టరీని కంట్రోల్ సిస్టమ్ అది డిటర్మైన్ చేసుకుంటుంది. బై ఇట్ సెల్ఫ్ ఇట్ డిటర్మైన్స్ ద ట్రాజెక్టరీ. And it is suited for this teach pendant type of instruction, online programming. So it is mostly suited for point-to-point control applications. Okay. Next, lead through programming. Okay, lead through programming అంటే ఏం చెప్పుకున్నాం కదా, ఎండ్ ఎఫెక్టర్ మన హ్యాండ్స్ తో పట్టుకుని పర్టికులర్ పాత్ లో తీసుకున్నాం. ఓకే, సో లీడ్ త్రూ ప్రోగ్రామ్. సో యు లీడ్ ద రోబో ఫిజికల్లీ. ఓకే, యు కెన్ లీడ్ ద రోబో physically, so through the required sequence of motions. The required sequence of motions. So trajectory and endpoints are recorded using sampling routine, which records so points at 60 to 80 times a second. Okay, so ఇక్కడ మనం ఆ ఎండ్ ఎఫెక్టర్ పట్టుకుని అలా ట్రాక్ చేసేటప్పుడే అదేమిటి పెర్ సెకండ్ కి 60 to 80 పాయింట్స్ ని ఒక ఎట్ ఎ టైం రీడ్ చేస్తూ ఉంటుంది. అది శాంప్లింగ్ రొటీన్ పద్ధతిలో అది ఆ విధంగా పాయింట్స్ రీడ్ చేయడం జరుగుతుంది. సో when it is played back, okay, so the results in a smooth continuous motion. Okay, అది మనం ప్లే చేసినప్పుడు అది ఒక పాత్ లో ఒక స్మూత్ కంటిన్యూస్ మోషన్ అన్నది ఇవ్వడం జరుగుతుంది. ఓకే, సో దిస్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ అడ్వాన్స్డ్ దాన్ టీచ్ పెండెంట్ మోషన్. టీచ్ పెండెంట్ కంటే కొద్దిగా అడ్వాన్స్గా ఉంటుంది. సో ఇట్ రిక్వైర్స్ దిస్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ రిక్వైర్స్ లార్జ్ మెమరీ. ఓకే, లార్జ్ మెమరీ కావాల్సి వస్తుంది. ఎందుకంటే సో నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ పాయింట్స్ రికార్డ్ చేసినప్పుడు ఆబ్వియస్లీ ఇట్ రిక్వైర్స్ లార్జ్ మెమరీ. So next, online by lead through program. Online lead through program. What are the advantages and disadvantages? See in this kind of program. So advantage it is easy, and so special programming skills are required. No special programming skills are required. So no special training is required for the person who will operate the who will write the lead through program. Okay, so layman can also guide the industry logo or instruct the industry logo. Okay. So for this kind of programming, so no skills, no special skills, no special training is required. So, but disadvantages. So disadvantages are more compared to advantages. Okay. So what are the disadvantages? So it is not suited for large and heavy robots. This kind of lead-through programming not suited for heavy robots and large. Okay. Next, so accuracy level it is poor, and straight line motions are also difficult to achieve in this kind of program. And so okay. So kind of geometrically defined trajectory, such as circular arcs. Okay, to achieve circular arcs, circular path motion, also difficult to achieve in this lead-through program. Okay. And so you cannot edit the program. You cannot edit the once you recorded the point, you cannot edit the unwanted operator moves. Okay. మనకి ఆపరేట్ అంటే యాక్సిడెంటల్లీ ఆపరేటర్ ఏం చేస్తాడు, రిక్వైర్డ్ పాత్ కంటే డీవియేట్ అయ్యి సమ్ అన్వాంటెడ్ పాత్ని డిజైన్ చేస్తే సో వీ కెనాట్ ఎడిట్. సో కంప్లీట్గా డిలీట్ చేసి మళ్ళీ కొత్త ఫ్రెష్గా వీ నీడ్ టు గైడ్ ద ఇండస్ట్రీ. అండ్ డిఫికల్ట్ టు ఇన్కార్పొరేట్ ఎక్స్టర్నల్ సెన్సార్ డేటా. సో ఎక్స్టర్నల్ సెన్సార్ డేటా అంటే ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఎక్స్టర్నల్ సెన్సార్ డేటా అంటే సో మ్యాగ్నెటిక్ ఎండ్ ఎఫెక్టర్ ఉందనుకోండి, మ్యాగ్నెటిక్ ఎండ్ ఎఫెక్టర్ యొక్క సెన్సార్ డేటాని సో ఈ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ మనం ఇన్కార్పొరేట్ చేయలేము. సో దట్ ఈస్ వెరీ డ్రాబ్యాక్ ఇన్ దిస్ ప్రోగ్రామ్. అండ్ synchronization with other machines or equipment in the virtual is difficult. Okay, so other equipments to gani, other machines to gani, we cannot synchronize in this kind of program. Okay, and already I told you, so large memory is required to this kind of program. So these are the advantages and disadvantages. So which are more important in the examination point of view. In the end exam, you may be asked this kind of question. What are the advantages and disadvantages of online lead-through program? Yes, so this is very, very important. Okay, so online programming. It requires access to the robot. Okay, so continuation to the above slide. So ఇది కంపల్సరీగా లీడ్ త్రూ ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ చేసినప్పుడు ఆన్లైన్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ కంపల్సరీగా ఇట్ యాక్సెస్ విత్ ద ఫిజికల్ ఇండస్ట్రీ డోర్. ఓకే, సో ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ ఎగ్జిట్ ఓన్లీ ఇన్ ద మెమరీ ఆఫ్ రోబోట్ కంట్రోల్ సిస్టమ్. సో ఆఫెన్ డిఫికల్ట్ టు ట్రాన్స్ఫర్, డాక్యుమెంట్ అండ్ మెయింటైన్, మాడిఫై. ఓకే, ఇక్కడ ద డిసడ్వాంటేజ్ ఏంటంటే సో వీ కెనాట్ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ ద ప్రోగ్రామ్ from one system to another system. Okay, and documentation is very few. So documentation is good. So maintenance is and modify the program is difficult. Okay, and the advantage is easy to use, no special programming skills required. So useful and programming robots for wide range of repetitive tasks for long production runs. So programming is very quick and rapid. Okay, so ఈ ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ మనకి స్పెషల్ గా మైండ్ పెట్టవలసిన అవసరం లేదు కాబట్టి సో సింపుల్ గా ఫిజికల్ గా మాన్యువల్ గా చేసుకోవచ్చు కాబట్టి సో ఇది ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ క్విక్ గా ఉంటుంది. ఓకే, క్విక్ గా మనం చేయొచ్చు. Next, online programming by Teachpenny. So what are the advantages and disadvantages? Okay. So it is also said online video program. So this program is easy. No special trainings are required, skills are required. It can specify other conditions and robot movements. So type of project to use light or dark. Okay. Okay. So it can specify other conditions on robot movements. So type of trajectory to use line or arc. Okay. So Teachpenny you can specify the arc movement to line movement. Okay. So but disadvantage only potential dangers. Motors are on. So motors on this in the food. Dangerous situation. Short circuit problem will happen. Okay. So offline programming. So offline programming, offline programming is a sophisticated programming, advanced level programming. Okay. PC kind of program. Okay. See, step by step you learn this offline. What is offline? So programs can be developed without needing the use of physical program. Okay, that is the first point. So the sequence of operations and robo movements can be optimized or easily improved. So it's very important statement in this. So we can optimize the movements, robo movements, and also we can easily improve the robo movements. Okay, so we can easily edit the programming. We can easily edit the program. And so previously developed and tested procedures and subroutines can be used. Okay, so previous and a program templates కింద so subprograms మనం సెపరేట్ గా సబ్రూటీన్స్ ని సబ్ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ ని సెపరేట్ గా స్టాండర్డ్ గా మనం ఉన్నట్లి మనం రీయూజ్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. So wherever it requires you can use them. So external sensor data can be easily incorporated in the program. So through this, it makes the programs more complicated and so more difficult to modify and maintain. Okay. We can make the program complication because it's complicated programs we can write, and also we can modify the complicated programs also. Not much different. So next, existing CAD data can be incorporated the dimensions of the parts and the geometric relationship between them. Okay, మనం ఇక్కడ CAD సాఫ్ట్వేర్ లో ఒక మోడల్ తయారు చేస్తే ఆ మోడల్ డేటాని అంటే ఆబ్జెక్ట్ యొక్క డైమెన్షన్స్ ని యూ కెన్ ఈజీలీ ఇన్కార్పొరేట్, యూ కెన్ ఈజీలీ డెవలప్ ద రిలేషన్షిప్ బిట్వీన్ దెమ్. Okay, so this is also very good important advantage in this offline program. Okay. And the next programs can be tested and evaluated using simulation techniques. So through this we never remove the need to be final testing number. Okay, using simulation techniques. So through this feature, we never commit the mistakes while doing the program. So programs can more easily be maintained and modified. And programs can be easily properly documented and commented. Okay. So after reading these comments, so you may so one thing. So what are the online programming drawbacks? So what are the disadvantages we have faced? So such disadvantages converted into advantages in offline programming. Okay. So that's why this offline programming is a advanced programming and so more sophisticated programming skills. But this offline programming needs special languages, programming languages, textual programming languages. So what are those languages are available in the market? Can use it. Okay. So we will discuss in the next slides. And also offline programming needs operating system. Okay. So here in this you can see coordinate systems, coordinate system and two coordinate system. While writing programming, we need to know the these two kinds of coordinate systems. Based on it, you can write easily the program. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, I will conclude the lecture in 5 minutes. Okay, so coordinate systems are very essential during writing that. Okay, next. Okay, so this is the configuration of the industry program. You well know about this configuration. And next. Okay, so these are the few Marshall commands which are actually used in programming, offline programming. Okay. Okay, move P1, EL P1, moves P1, demove, approach, depart, so definite path, move path, speed. So these are the some of the Marshall commands. So for idea purpose only, I have given this comment. Okay. And next, okay, these are also Marshall commands. And interlock and sensor commands. So interlock and sensor commands. Interlock commands are so wait, signal, react, save, stop. Okay, so these are the interlock commands. Grepper commands. So grepper open, grepper close 25 mm, close 2 newtons. Okay, so grepper commands. So close 2 newtons means force command. Okay, so what is the motivation behind programming languages? So we need to interface the robot control system to external sensors to provide real-time changes based on sensory equipment. Okay. So ఇక్కడ motivation ఏంటంటే ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ లాంగ్వేజ్ మోటివేషన్ ఏంటంటే ఇక్కడ మనం we need to interface అంటే రోబోట్ యొక్క కంట్రోల్ సిస్టమ్ ని ఎక్స్టర్నల్ సెన్సార్స్ ని మనం ఇంటర్ఫేస్ చేయాలి. Okay. సో ఆ ఇంటర్ఫేస్ చేసేటప్పుడు మనకి ఏమొస్తుంది, వీ హ్యావ్ టు ప్రొవైడ్ రియల్ టైమ్ చేంజెస్. ఆ చేంజెస్ ఎలా ఉన్నాయి అన్నది బేస్డ్ ఆన్ సెన్సార్ ఎక్విప్మెంట్ ద్వారా మనం ఆ ఇంటర్ఫేస్ చేసేది. సో దట్ ఈస్ ద వన్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ అండ్ computing based on geometry of environment. Okay. So ability to interface with the CAD/CAM systems. So meaningful task descriptions. So offline programming capability. So ఇవన్నీ చేయడం కోసం మనం ఈ ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ లాంగ్వేజెస్ అవసరం అవుతుంది. ఓకే, సో వాట్ ఆర్ దోస్ సచ్ ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ లాంగ్వేజెస్? So there are number of robo languages which are available in the market. So mostly 200 plus languages are available in the market. Okay, so such are few languages which are known as AML language, VAL language. Okay, so variable assembly language, AL language, RAL language, Robo Studio. So Robo Studio is the latest language. Okay. These AML, VAL, and company-specific languages which were used in past days. Okay. Each robo manufacturer has their own robo program. So ఇక్కడ రోబో మ్యానుఫ్యాక్చర్ దాన్ని అతను కస్టమైజ్డ్ గా అతను ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ లాంగ్వేజ్ డెవలప్ చేసుకుంటూ ఉంటారు. అందుకనే కాబట్టి ఇక్కడ 200+ లాంగ్వేజెస్ మనకి అవైలబిలిటీగా ఉన్నాయి. సో నో స్టాండర్డ్స్ ఎగ్జిస్ట్ ఇన్ దిస్ లాంగ్వేజెస్. ఓకే, అండ్ పోర్టబిలిటీ ఆఫ్ ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ విర్చువల్లీ నాన్ ఎగ్జిస్టెంట్. సో విర్చువల్గా we cannot port the programs. Okay. So robo programming languages. So some of the programming languages. So for example, so VAL language. So this language is used. This language was developed for Puma Robo. So Puma Robo ki the Japanese robo and this robo is used for assembling operations. So దానికి స్పెసిఫిక్ గా VAL లాంగ్వేజ్ ని వాళ్ళు వాడుతున్నారు. సో మానిటర్ కమాండ్ ఆర్ సెట్ ఆఫ్ అడ్మినిస్ట్రేటివ్ ఇన్స్ట్రక్షన్స్ that direct the operation of the robo system. Some of the functions are monitor commands. So preparing the system for the user to write the programs for Puma. So defining points in space. So commanding the Puma to execute the program. So listing program on the CRT. So examples of monitor commands are edit, execute, speed, clear, etc. Okay, already monitor commands. Okay. So MCL language. So this is about programming and programming language, types of programming. So mainly exam lo meeku adigedi advantage disadvantage adigutadu meeru atu jarthunnaaru. So I will share this PPT to you today or tomorrow. So in the next class I will discuss types of sensors or feedback sensors and actuator systems. Okay, in the next class I will discuss them. So thank you very much. So if you have any doubts, you will ask in the next class. Thank you very much. I am leaving the